Voiceover Social.
Hello, Robert B.
Hello to everybody who is listening, especially you.
Did you not like me giving you your full name, Robert? I never call you Robert.
No, you never do. You
No.
never do. In fact, nobody ever does, apart from the one time when I was meeting family who I hadn't seen for a long time and my mum introduced me as Robert. And so I was called Robert for an entire afternoon.
She never calls you that.
She never calls me that.
That's quite funny.
Yeah, well, yeah, kind of.
All fun. So what you been up to?
Oh, overeating and undersleeping generally.
We did hello to anybody that might have joined us because they met us at Evocation, by the way. We had
Hello.
an amazing time. Ludicrous time zones because we were several hours the wrong side of the Atlantic. We got it was weird getting jet lag without leaving the country. It was very strange, but it was lovely meeting everybody and lovely chatting.
It was a fabulous weekend.
It was. We were running one-to-one surgeries and a couple of Ask Us Anythings. We do have a free Ask Us Anything coming up, but I can't remember the date. That's helpful, isn't it? But it's on the website. It's on the BEE website.
Yeah.
And probably, well, one of the big exciting things, I think, is the tickets have gone on sale for the Great Big Voiceover Social. Woo! I'm so excited.
Yes, that's excellent. So the Great Big Voiceover Social, for those of you who don't know, where have you been? The date of it is the 7th of February 2026. That is a Saturday. It is in Manchester, UK. And yes, tickets are on sale, so go to the website and buy a ticket.
We've got an early bird on offer at the moment. That is on until sometime in October. Again, I'm doing really well with dates
I think it's
today.
till the 14th, isn't it?
But I have a feeling, because we've got a limited amount of early bird tickets, and actually, as of the time that we are recording this, there are only 10 left. So if you want to get an early bird ticket, you're going to have to be quick and pop along to the website. If not, you'll be paying full price. But it'll be amazing. We had so much fun last year, and we have some new things planned, which we will start telling you about as we get closer to the event.
Yes.
What else have we got to tell people, Rob?
I think we need to tell people that we have an advert.
We do.
But it's a little bit different.
It is a little bit different.
So at this year's Great Big Voiceover Social, we had two gold sponsors. We had the Voice Finder, whose advert you heard a few months ago, and we also had Badalgo. Now, Armin from Badalgo, very generous fella, said that he didn't want to have a Badalgo ad in the podcast and donated his ad slots to a charity of our choice.
And the reason we have picked this charity is we already support it as a business. Many of you know that we support the Bumblebee Conservation Trust. At least 10% of our annual profits go to the Bumblebee Conservation Trust. It makes sense with our surname being Bee, but also they're a fabulous little charity protecting the bees of the UK, and they are incredibly important little things. They pollinate most of our food, along with some other flying insects as well, but they are severely under threat. So we are very, very happy to support the Bumblebee Conservation Trust, and particularly happy because the voiceover is done by one of our very own Manchester voiceovers as well. So
Yes, so listen out for that one. You will recognise the voice if you know Sarah Starling. Oops, spoiler. So yes, listen out for that one a little bit later in the episode. So the next 3 months, you'll be hearing a little bit about the Bumblebee Conservation Trust.
And ways that you can support them and help make their lives a little bit better. It's all good.
The bees, that is, not the trust.
Yes, the bees.
Yes. Not us, by the way, the little flying insects.
It's getting so confusing.
Oh, dear me. Maybe we should have done RSPCA instead.
Moving on,
right,
Rob.
yes. What are we doing this month in the podcast?
So I'm going to mention the end bit first, if that makes any sense at all. So right at the end of the podcast, we list the socials that are coming up. So if you're interested, we have 18, I think, different groups around the UK and Europe now. Yeah. Our newest group in Wales has opened. Yay! They've already had their first social. They were so quick off the mark.
Sneaky Welsh.
Sneaky, speedy Welsh, yes, really quite going for it. But they have a Facebook group, so links to that is in the show notes. And all our other up-and-coming socials around the place are listed at the end.
Okay.
But the actual episode itself, now you got particularly excited about this one,
Well,
didn't you,
yeah,
Rob?
of course I did.
Rob basically is spending the episode geeking out with it's hard to describe Emily other than an absolute gem of a human being. She has recently, for those of you that don't know, has been building her own brand new studio, her brand new booth.
Yes.
And you two have a right old geek out.
We got Emily on not to talk about her coaching business or her voice acting business, although obviously we do talk about that a little bit as well. But we specifically got her on because she has just built this new booth, and we wanted to hear all about the process and throw some little nuggets of information in your general directions.
Yeah, and my word, what a spectacular looking thing it is as well.
It is.
Again, links in the show notes so that you can see stuff. But chatting to Emily. And we've got Annette Rizzo that's come back from Equity.
Yes.
The newly re-elected audio committee. Annette is still on that committee and has come on to give us an update about what Equity has been up to. So that is in the podcast too.
Yes, and I think we've just basically jabbered for too long and confused the hell out of everybody, so let's crack on.
Hello, Emily Jardine. How are you?
I'm all right, thanks. I'm so excited, I've got to say.
I apologise for all the ramblings beforehand. Rob and I have just been arguing about who should start this podcast because, and I've decided I probably won't get much of a word in edgepraise because you'll be wittering on about geeky things all the time. So I'm just going to sit back and leave the two of you to it after I've asked, Emily, who are you? Introduce yourself.
Well, I'm a VO. I am a coach. I think most people know me as that, but that is going to change. And I'm also I've spent many years casting and directing.
Fab. So, I mean, yes, I am going to geek out a little bit later on talking to you. We have got you on for a very specific reason, which we're not starting to talk about yet because I'm containing my excitement. You are a working VO. You are, as you say, known as a coach as well. But from the VO side of things, where will people have heard you? What kind of stuff do you do?
Oh my gosh. So the only stuff I don't voice is Voice of God and audiobooks. Like I do everything else.
I love that you have to start with the stuff you don't do. It's brilliant. Lots then.
Yeah, no, it's great. And I find actually that it goes in waves. So at the moment I'm doing like a bazillion commercials, like TV commercials and online stuff. But most of the time I would say as well, I'm doing lots of corporates. So I do stuff for like Lego and Starbucks and Bentley. But then, yeah, you'll also hear me on the radio I'm the voice of Hillary's. So if you want some blinds, I can't get you a discount. But that is
inundated. I'm sure.
And then, yeah, I do loads of video games. But what's interesting with me in video games is that I tend to be working on a couple of games at any one time. But I find myself voicing like 5 or 6 characters in the games I work on, but I don't necessarily work on like 50 games at once. So it's like the minute I'm on a project, like they'll I'll play like loads and loads of different people. So it really does test me, like especially if I'm in a conversation with myself.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. And I've even played my own child before. So I've been like this I play this kind of fairy queen in this one particular game. And then I have to play all 3 of my children. So go figure.
I'm gonna lay a bet that even Robert De Niro hasn't played his own kids.
Do you have a favourite genre of work? Is there a favourite, or is variety the spice of life, as it were?
I mean, I love doing video games, but I've got to say that the thing that gives me the biggest adrenaline spike of all is doing commercials.
Okay, so thinking about the coaching, when did that start? How long have you been voicing before you started coaching, and how did that happen, and why?
So it was actually the other way round. I began in acting, obviously, that's how it all started, but then from a production perspective, it was 2011 and I was brought into a production house as a project assistant. And then within a few months, I'd been promoted to project manager. And I also became like the talent filter, if you like. So it was my job to decide who would go on our books and whatnot. And so actually, I was booking and casting talents before I was a VO. And I was also directing them almost before I knew what I was doing, if that makes any sense. Then one day my manager said to me, Emily, you're a singer. That must mean you're good at voiceovers. No. Why would you possibly think that? And he said, well, I need you to go and do a scratch. So downstairs you go. And I did this VO and suddenly I fell head over heels in love with VO. And since then, my career has been both. So technically, I've been in casting and directing 14 years and VO 13 and a half.
Right.
And it was after that, some years after that, that I moved into coaching. And the reason being that I was getting requests from people going, I need to work with you privately. Or why aren't you coaching? Why aren't you putting this to use? And so I did. I started kind of private coaching. I mean, it was quite a long time ago, but it wasn't as far back as the rest of my career. And suddenly I was inundated.
Yeah,
completely.
I like that. I like that. It's a natural kind of progression and it's born entirely out of demand. You're not thrusting yourself. I have to say that it was the same with me starting with studio tech, in that before I had left my full-time job, before I'd even thought about doing self-employment as a thing, I was getting questions from VOs about how do I sort my studio out. And I did do a few studio visits and stuff, you know, kind of very sly backhanders, don't tell the taxman kind of cash in hand jobs. So being able to go into a market knowing that there is demand for it is kind of a comfortable thing, even, because you can guarantee you're going to get some work.
Yeah, and I used to price myself really badly because I didn't know, you know.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And then, you know, I got over that relatively quickly when I realised that actually there's a reason people are booking me. But yeah, in the beginning, I had absolutely no idea, and what to quote. I had all this knowledge, but I guess what's so important among everyone in this VO industry is knowing your value. And I didn't realise how much value I was actually bringing people, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. So what is your favourite thing about coaching?
One of my first clients didn't believe that she could really do it. She just knew that she wanted to. And it was wonderful that I showed her these tiny few little techniques and her eyes just lit up.
Yeah.
And it's I think people realizing that they are so much more capable than they think they are. And being able to influence that. But also when I began in VO, I didn't have anyone. Like I don't think Gravy for the Brain even existed. I didn't know any other VOs other than those that were coming into the studios. But of course they knew me as the person that was going to be casting them, not as a fellow VO. So there wasn't that kind of connection in that way. That changed over time. But I didn't have anyone. And I remember how many bad decisions I made. And I remember how many things I could have known better on and would have therefore saved me some problems. And I really felt alone. And so the idea that anybody else would feel that alone, I didn't like it. But also, given the competition and what I knew about production, I knew that if people were going into it the way I was, they wouldn't get anywhere. And so I don't know, I guess I let my heart lead, really, with that.
Being able to instruct people exactly what they need to know and no kind of fluff around the outside or anything, just kind of getting straight to the heart of it and making yourself eminently bookable and a safe pair of hands for kind of any producer, director, project leader.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's one of the upsides of COVID, maybe, is that people are more used to finding online communities, at least nowadays. When you're not a part of an industry at all and then you're trying to be, it's like, where do you start? It's other than the obvious Googling a few keywords to see what comes up, you can find an awful lot of worryingly bad advice as well as some good advice, I think.
You really, really can. And you know, actually, there was something interesting that occurred to me about 5 years ago. At the time, obviously, I was working as a producer and also a voice artist and also a coach and a director. And when you are a producer, you are, I'm not going to say in a bubble, but I would say that you are not fully aware of what goes on in the VO community. You know what you need to do to book the talents, you know what kind of skills you've got, and all of this kind of knowledge that you're meant to have about the industry, but you don't actually know how the VO community works. Yeah. And I remember when I went to my first ever social with a load of VOs, I went, why did I not know this world existed? Why did I not know that this is how the VO community works, how they interact with each other? How did I not know about gravy for the brain? How did I not know about X, Y, and Z? It was like waking up when I discovered the VO community as a producer. And I sometimes wonder whether if we've got, say, producers that are coming into the industry or whatever, or if they're deciding that they want to, I don't know, merge jobs in some way. I had no idea how the community actually worked. And it was a career-changing moment for me, that there was so much more to learn. So that's my advice to anyone who's stepping into this world from a production perspective, whether that be that you're, I don't know, becoming a VO yourself or just providing a service to VOs, is there's a whole different world that you don't know about yet.
Yeah, I mean, I'd second that, because the production studio that I used to work for when I had a full-time job was very antisocial and never got involved in, not that there was a vast amount to get involved with in those days, but they adamantly refused to kind of engage with voiceovers other than hiring them and paying them, which when I discovered, it was Vox 2013 was the first time I went to a proper voiceover event, and it was a revelation.
Yeah.
I think it's also because it's such an unusual one that so many people that on paper are competitors are genuinely looking out for each other. And I think certainly my background in working advertising marketing is definitely not like that.
Nope.
Nope. And I know just about everybody that I've spoken to from all sorts of different walks of life, of backgrounds of corporate or performance or whatever. Voiceover is a really weirdly beautiful, unique community of people. It is very, very unusual, and it's really difficult to try and explain that to other people that aren't in it as well. Friends that have heard Rob and I witter on about how amazing the VO community is, I don't think really believe us. I think
no, they don't.
It's really
probably
hard. No, because it's how can you relate to that? I genuinely don't think there's anything quite like it. It's a special place.
And especially seeing as a lot of the time you are going for the same jobs as your friends. Yeah. And I've even had, they didn't know at the time, but there was a coaching client of mine said, Emily, I've got this audition. I have no idea what I'm doing. Could you please help me? And I'd literally just submitted an audition for the same role. And I said, of course. And I was even willing to play her mine. And it just we are just such a close community, aren't we? We really have got each other's backs.
I love that openness of you as well, though. That says a lot about your coaching and your approach to other people in that community. Because as much as, yes, I get from a coaching point of view, you still have to coach them. But to be open and honest and say that you've gone for the audition as well, I think I'm not sure everybody would do that. I don't know.
And what a coup for them if they'd got the job over you.
Oh my word! Yeah,
I did ask, and apparently neither of us got it. But
phew.
So, but you know what? That would have been a success in a different way.
It would.
What a testament to your ability to coach.
And you could have got some coaching off your student. Moving on, as lovely as this isn't why we're here. This isn't what we're here to talk about.
No, is this the bit where I stop and just let you two?
No, I don't want you to stop. I think you can probably shout up if we're talking about things you don't understand, and then we might be able to explain them. So I think people who know you, Emily, know that you have just moved from Kent to Wales.
Yep.
And obviously, in the process of doing that, that means you have to move your studio because Kent is quite a long commute from Wales.
It's a bit of a...
So we know you have created a new studio space, a completely new studio space, not just in terms of it's not in the same place anymore, but you've absolutely gone to town and made yourself a beautiful, shiny booth, which is called...
Elizabeth.
Yes, fabulous. So my initial question to you is, there is a thing which I tell people in that what you're trying to achieve in your voiceover career for your long-term clients is a consistency with the quality of your audio. Mm-hmm. Now, the first thing you are going to do if you are redesigning a booth is change the way that it sounds. So why did you go for Elizabeth and not just replicating what you had before?
Because I wasn't physically comfortable. And so I would say that over the years, my booth has always got a little bit more advanced than the one before. But the booth I had ended up with, I actually, this was about 4 years ago, I actually really liked. But it wasn't something I could take pictures of because it worked beautifully as a booth, but it just didn't look professional.
Sure.
And we made it out of, those DIY wardrobes where you get the poles and the connectors and things like that. We had an alcove in our previous home, and we bought like 3 or 4 of these extra large DIY wardrobe canvas things, and we didn't make a wardrobe. We created a massive kind of rectangular kind of space, and then we covered it in acoustic blankets and foam and put acoustic carpet in and did all these wonderful things. It was wonderful. We could stand or I could sit, but it just, I didn't feel like it was my final space.
Sure.
It always felt like we'd put it together. And so I wouldn't say I felt like a fraud, but what I would say is that I needed something that might not fall over if you bumped into it. And so then we decided a few years later, we decided we wanted to sell, but we had to take the booth down. And in that time, I created a half booth. So I could no longer stand in it, but we essentially had this half booth. But it was absolutely just put together. But like I say, it worked perfectly well. My producers would come through and go, oh my gosh, why doesn't everyone have this quality? So I knew it was working.
Sure.
It just, I felt so tight, And so I thought, right, when we move, I have got the opportunity to build something that will make me happy and will make me feel less stressed both in my body and my mind. And when we came to view our home, what would be our future home, we saw this shed. It wasn't technically a shed anymore. It had been turned into a workshop. But I almost fell in love with that shed more than I did the rest of the house. And we knew from that moment really that was going to be our audio playground.
Yeah.
So it's kind of built. I don't know if that answered your question, but
no, I think I love the answer to the question. I think there's a couple of things there which are very related, which you've mentioned there, which I tell a lot of clients. It's something which a lot of people don't realise. I think particularly in my early days of going around visiting studios, I visited a lot of people who I had worked on over ISDN, and I knew that their studio sounded absolutely fine. But when I went round to visit them, I was shocked and sometimes shocked and appalled at actually what their voicing situation was. You just kind of, well, I know it sounds right, but technically on paper it shouldn't. And the fact is that because you're having to contort yourself into such a position, you're not actually doing yourself any good. It's a good job I'm just doing a straight corporate with you, not something which involves lots of kind of shouting and diaphragm control and things like that. So I think the first thing is, it's really, really important to be comfortable in your booth physically, because it just means that you are going to voice much, much better. But also psychologically, mentally, that it's somewhere where you are comfortable and somewhere where you are happy to be. You use the word happy in your answer. And, if you love that space and love spending time in there, it means you are more relaxed and you are going to do a much better job in voicing. So, you've answered for me from point of view of what I tell my clients. You've answered that question absolutely perfectly. That's why you built a new booth, is because you wanted something which is more you, something which is suiting your aesthetic, suiting your taste, and physically suits you as well.
Exactly. And it also was an opportunity for me to build more than I needed. And I'm not saying that's what people need to do, but what I'm saying is that it gave me this massive boost that if a client came through with something complicated, I could be like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's no problems at all. From here, I can do ADR now. I can do dubbing. I don't do character dubbing as much as I focus on other things, but that capability is completely within my hands now, as is, I'm a singer. I'm a classically trained singer. I can now perform and record songs in here, and I don't have to worry about space. I can move around, I can shift things, and I needed more than I needed.
And again, absolutely brilliant that that's what you've done. I totally understand that a studio for a lot of voiceovers is something which is, well, it's obviously a necessity, but it's, for a lot of people, they treat it like a necessary evil. And so they will have a bare minimum of what they need, and they have no real intention of going further with the tech and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of people don't have the space to create more than they've got. But the fact that you've had the opportunity and it's something that you've wanted to do, and you've future-proofed yourself,
that's the thing.
Is absolutely amazing. So what was the process involved in converting this shed into a lizard booth?
So it was in quite a bad state when we got it. I mean, I say that the shell itself was fine. It was more the fact that the previous owners clearly didn't love it anymore, and that the floor was kind of half rotten underneath, and they'd left shelves in there full of junk, and there was dust and goodness knows what else, and it was just a mess. And of course, no acoustic properties whatsoever. You could hear the bloody wind howling through. In fact, the wind was howling through it. And so it was a nightmare. And so the first thing we wanted to do was, we knew we wanted to do it properly. And so I contacted loads and loads of companies that specialised in not only soundproofing, but acoustic treatment, because I was so frustrated with the amount of companies that said they did this, recording studios, and they just banged on about soundproofing. Yeah, soundproofing is a huge part of it, but it is more than just stopping sound from coming in. There is so much more to think about. And so every time I saw a company bang on consistently about soundproofing and not mention anything else, I kind of disregarded them. So that eventually only left me with 2 companies that I trusted at all to know what I needed. I approached them both and I said, come over and have a look, have a measure up. I want to hear your ideas. And I already knew what I kind of wanted, but obviously I didn't know whether it would technically work. Sure. So I kind of gave them some prompts every now and again, but ultimately I wanted them to come to this solution themselves. I can't remember if one of the companies came over. I don't think they did. I think they just decided to quote me based on lots of pictures and diagrams and things like that. But the approach that these 2 companies had was really different. It was a massive choice, actually. However, it became pretty clear pretty quickly that this company that I did eventually end up going with were the right choice. Not least because I said, I need a studio door. I need it to be really good, but I don't want it to be some kind of huge contraption kind of sealing me in. I don't want it to be ridiculous. And they said, oh, we've got a brilliant solution because we've just done it for someone else. And I was like, there we go. Yeah. Pretty much feel like I chose them eventually based on the fact that they just solved that problem for someone else.
Sure. Yeah.
Which was, they had a custom-made fire door done for me. And then they created the seals themselves. So I have ended up with a really hefty, strong door with seals, but it's not, it's not like a traditional fire door. It's not weighing 4 tons. It works for me. and it was made for me.
So what have you got then? Have you got a separate kind of voicing booth and editing area, or is it just all the one big room? What is your setup like now?
It's split. So it is if you're looking at the space, about a third of it is the booth, and 2/3 of it is the editing suite. And there is a partition wall between the two, and obviously the studio door between the two. But I had quite a specialist system put in. So it was built using something called, I'm giving all my secrets away now. It was built using something called a mute clip system. I don't know if, Rob, you know much about the mute clip system, but ultimately it's a room within a room. And within the walls between the two, there is a huge gap so that the frequencies won't travel through. Yeah. And the booth itself is double strength. So it is a tomb, but it's not a complete tomb. Whereas the editing suite is just single, Yeah. But the booth was designed to not, it's big enough because there's what is it you say, the boxy effect if it's too small? Yeah. It's happily big enough to not have that effect, but it is also very, very strongly treated. And I'll give you an example. Over the road from us, I don't know, a month back, they were actually drilling into the ground, and it was 5 meters away from me. I couldn't hear it and I couldn't feel it.
Nice.
Yay!
Very good. Excellent.
So we can all come round to yours with leaf blowers.
Literally, it is. They were, what is it? The hammer drill? I don't know what it is, but the ones that just destroy the concrete. Right. Nothing.
Yeah. Cool.
That does sound good. So can you do star jumps in your booth? Is it how physically big are we talking?
So I have currently got my arms outstretched, and I would say I'm on the foam, but essentially my hands are flat on the foam, but my arms are completely extended.
So there's lots of room for you to make shapes whilst character voice. Make shapes is probably the wrong phrase, but animate whilst voicing.
Yes, it doesn't go fingertips, unfortunately. But yeah, my palms are flat and it actually hurts to stretch to that point. So
cool. Great. For the editing suite, how much space have you said that was about twice the size of the actual booth, is that right?
Yes. So it's about, I don't know the measurements, but yeah, that's easy star jumps. Cool. Easy.
And what I feel might be the most important question is, how far is the nearest kettle?
See, I haven't put a kettle in here because I know I will never leave. So I need a reason to go. And Robin, my other half, was like, you should get a mini fridge in there. I was like, you will never see me ever again. So
movement is good in the day. We're all supposed to stand up every hour.
Yeah, standing up, moving, getting away from the screens, resting your eyes, getting away from the monitors, resting your ears. All of that is all very, very good practice. So, yes. And obviously then no toilet in there either. So
No. Although that would have required a whole new set of
absolutely.
plans.
And I guess my other, for everybody that's got an outside studio, is it a dry or a potentially get soggy on if it's raining dash to the house?
Oh, it is. It's a soggy dash, but luckily it's not too far. It's only a few meters, I would say. Yeah. Okay.
What about personalisations? The personal little knickknacks are in there. I mean, how much have you... It sounds like it's a fantastic studio, not just from what you said, but from what we're listening to as well. But in terms of making it yours and bringing in all your little knickknacks and things like that, how much of that have you done?
Not as much as people probably think. So if anyone's seen the pictures, they'll see I have a flower wall. So it's pink hydrangeas, like you have at weddings or whatever. So I bought huge panels of that, and that's now stuck on my it's on my wall. And so every time I'm in camera shot, all you see is pink flowers.
Nice.
And I love that. I didn't do this, but I probably should have done. But Robin brought in all my trophies and my awards and put them in shelves in my desk. But it's funny, I didn't think to do that. I just left them in the house. And so, but it is quite nice to catch seeing them every now and again. Other than that, no. I mean, what is in front of me at the moment? A hairbrush. There's not much in here that actually screams me. Maybe there should be.
I don't know. A giant flower wall is pretty good. I think that's pretty screaming you.
Yeah, I do love it. I absolutely love it.
Brilliant.
And it is a talking point when people haven't seen the studio for the first time, and I come on the camera, they're like, "Oh my gosh!" And it is lovely. It makes me feel very happy to look at it in the morning.
I think it is so important having that space. I mean, if you look at that, I know you can see us on Zoom, but anybody else listening won't be able to. But the difference between the backdrop of my office and Rob's office couldn't really be further apart. In that Rob's is black, and that'll do. And mine is complete opposite. Plants everywhere, pictures everywhere, because it excites me and it makes me happy to be in that space. So I totally get.
But who's got the best sound?
I don't always need the best sound though, Rob. I do the best pictures. But yeah, it does. If you're spending so many hours of the day in these spaces, it's so important to feel comfortable. And yours looks like a very sexy setup.
Yeah. I love it, and the carpet is nice and soft. Oh my gosh! When we went to buy the carpet, I said to them, I need something for my my swivel chair to move on, but I really do need it to be quite comfortable. Like, I don't want a terrible office carpet, but also it needs, I need to make sure that it's, sound dB reducing. And so I was, I had my tights on. I'm not one of those kind of people that goes on, public products with bare feet, but the guy in the carpet shop was literally putting them on the floor for me and going, walk across them.
Nice.
And it's really nice that I chose a carpet that is functional and beautiful and comfy, because especially if I'm playing characters, I'm going to be standing up. And I don't want to be doing a video game and kind of going ow in between the takes, because my feet are on a rock hard carpet.
Yeah.
All of this technical talk is brilliant. I like it, but maybe the listeners aren't so keen. So the end result of everything, you've got this booth up and running. Yep. The $1 million question is, how much of a difference has it made?
Oh my gosh, it's miles different. It is so different, not only in literally how I physically fit into the space, but also the space itself. It almost makes me feel freer. Like it's like my brain has been unlocked a little bit and I can be creative. There is literally space for me to be creative. All of the kit that I've upgraded, for the first time in my life, I have a 103, and the reason I couldn't get it before is because I didn't trust that the mic wouldn't pick up the pub, or something like that. And now I have no fear of that at all. And I feel like I'm, punching above my weight? Is that the phrase?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I feel like I'm doing. But it's giving me the freedom to kind of go, actually, I wanted this space. I've been working to get this space. I'm having this space.
Yeah.
And so, it's
lovely. I love how a space can give you confidence, and it can bring that kind of, no, I deserve this, I belong here feeling. That will come across to clients, I'm sure, as well.
Yeah, and I think it has, even from just obviously the better we audition, the more jobs we're at a chance of winning. Yeah. But I have been winning jobs at quite a rate. Yeah. And I put that down to not only the change in the acoustics here, but also the fact that I walk in here and I actually say good morning, Elizabeth. And it's not because I feel like I have to, it's because I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah. I think it's amazing how little it takes, how those tiny little bits of unconfidence about our setup, about our whatever it is, that potential clients will pick up on. That slight nervousness, that slight reticence, that slight hesitation, it's almost subliminal, but people know. It's like, I say it all the time with websites, if you're not happy with it, you're not going to be sending it out to people to market yourselves confidently. People will know, people will get that. If you're kind of feeling about when you're auditioning or whatever it is, it makes a huge, huge difference to our ability to do our jobs. And I'm really glad that you feel that way. Why Elizabeth?
So I was trying to come up with a pun name, and I'd never really settled. And so my first thought was Tabutha, but I just didn't know. And then I thought of Boothroyd, but then I thought that sounds a bit like hemorrhoid, and so probably not. And then I thought, what other names have got a Beth or a something? And one of my family members is called Elizabeth. And so although it's not named after her because I think she would cringe, she is my niece, there is a connection there. It wasn't named after her, but
Inspired by.
Yeah, because her name is in my life and it has a Beth.
I love it.
There we go.
I love it. Okay. And I guess one of the questions that some people will be asking is the financial side of this. From what you're saying, this is no cheap. This is not a small decision. This is a lot of custom building. It's quite a large space as well. Are you comfortable talking about the figures?
No, it's fine. And it's actually, I think it might be surprisingly not as expensive as people thought, but also at the same time, it is still hefty. So I would say we're reaching around 13,000 now. Okay. So it's not cheap, but at the same time, it is not 50 grand. Yeah. Granted, my original budget was hoping to be 7. But then when the proposals were made by the company and I knew I wanted this bit of kit and I wanted that, and actually now that I look at this, I want that, that's how we ended up almost doubling.
So that's all in as well? That's all the gear that's inside it as well?
All of the upgrade gear. Right. So I kept, I would say, about maybe £4,000 worth of stuff. So I guess if you were to take the booth as an entire thing, you would probably be reaching about 17 or 18k. However, I already own some of that. So
I mean, Rob, you know better than I do, but actually, I mean, sound booths themselves, if you're buying a Studio Bricks or something like that, they are not cheap.
Yeah, they're not cheap at all. So you probably could have bought 2 Studio Bricks booths for what you spent.
Yes.
2 of the smaller ones maybe, but what you've got is very, very personal to you and is going to even just psychologically serve you better than an off-the-peg booth would do, and therefore it's money so well spent. The way you've been talking today, it just sounds like absolutely match made in heaven, and sorry, Robin, I've got a new partner now, so, it's money well spent, a good investment.
And I think, if we're talking about things that I would have done differently, like I made a few mistakes along the way and it will cost to fix them, but they don't need urgent fixing. So for example, actually we've got another grand to spend, so it probably is closer to 14. So see, it's all coming out now. But we had the wires built into the walls, so even the cables. And originally the plan was to leave a hole so that we could easily replace the cables, but I forgot to remind the builders. And so now if we want to if a cable breaks for my mic, screwed. So we're going to have to figure out a way to do that. But also we didn't consider the front door of the studio, like as in the entire space. We have now had it slightly soundproofed, but you really do need a UPVC door, and so that's what we need to replace. We haven't done that yet. And I feel like there is always going to be more that you can spend. And it's knowing when to stop.
Yes, perfect. Doesn't exist.
No, it really doesn't. And I think had we come into this project going, it has to be, I think we'd still be spending, and we'd be reaching 20k. 25k to do this, that and the other. And I took one look because I was thinking, what do I use for my foam? And I was looking at all the beautiful, very expensive brands. And then I thought, that's going to be 3 grand's worth of foam, but some people do that. And I'm like, no, I can't spend 3 grand on foam. So I didn't.
Well, thank you very much for coming and sharing that. I mean, I've said it several times. I think it sounds like a fantastic project with a fantastic outcome. So, I'm sure you'll be there and very happy working in that environment for many, many years to come.
I really hope so. And it does mean that our future home, wherever that may be, will be one step further away, because of course, even if we want to move house, I don't want to leave Elizabeth. I just don't want to do that. So we may be here for a very, very long time.
Thank you very much for sharing that journey with us.
Thank you for having me.
This is a beautiful bumblebee queen, and she's on a mission to find the perfect spot to build her nest and raise the next generation. Bumblebees are wild pollinators, and unlike honeybees, don't live in hives. Changes to our landscape means good nesting spots and flowers are now in short supply. Homeless and hungry, today's bumblebees are in trouble, which is a big problem because they're key pollinators of wildflowers, fruit and vegetables. bumblebeeconservation.org/be the change.
News from Equity.
Yes, news from Equity again. We are joined once more by the lovely Annette. So, hello, Annette.
Hello.
Let's dive straight in. What have you got to tell us?
Let's go back to last time, which I think was the beginning of June, the last time I was with you. So I think a couple of things we talked about last time were the story of Gayanne Potter, who had her cloned voice used to be the voice of ScotRail, and ScotRail was saying, not our problem. Basically, there was a lot of pressure and they spent a lot of time saying, we're not backing down, we're going to carry on using it, we've acquired it legally, etc., etc. They did back down.
Hooray!
Yay! And I think it's only actually in the last month that they've actually removed her voice, and they have not reintroduced a new AI voice. They have introduced a new human voice.
Ooh, that is interesting.
It is interesting. I would call that, obviously, it's a victory for Gayanne because it was an incredible kind of violation for her to have her voice being used without her permission, no compensation, nothing, no consent involved. I would call that a victory for her and good for her. She's also quite busy these days with her bubbling toad. That probably sounds very strange. She's got another business called the Bubbling Toad. The fact that there's a new voice is great. I mean, to me, a full victory would have been, we are going to stop using the AI Gayanne and we're going to use the real human Gayanne.
Yes, and hire you and pay you appropriately to do the job that you've been doing for the last few years. Yes.
Yes. So what I'm not party to, I don't know the new voice. I believe it's a male voice. I don't know the voice in question. Whether that is, it's going to be his human voice for now. I don't, but we're not. I mean, no one's going to say we'll never use an AI voice. So I would say let's see. But at the moment, it is a victory for Gayanne, and she, has actually. They did listen in the end. So they picked a fight with the wrong lass.
Well, hurrah for the human and hurrah for humans
as
well. I mean,
absolutely,
definitely,
yeah, completely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Must be a massive weight off her shoulders.
I think so, and she's just no headspace left for that, really. I think, again, last time we spoke, the Equity had its own internal conference, and one of the things that they were doing that was passed at the Equity conference was a motion that they would take forward to the Trade Union Congress, to their big conference, which actually was the beginning of September. So it was only a few weeks ago that a lot of members of staff attended the conference there. So if you were struggling to get hold of members of staff at the beginning of September, that's probably why. We, as a union, took a motion to the rest. So obviously, in the Trade Union Congress is the meeting of, I don't know how many unions are part of it, but basically unions from across all the industries. It's not just, it's kind of all workers, all unions. And so all of those different unions will bring motions that are relevant to their own sector. So we took a motion that was relevant to ours, and we were joined by the Musicians' Union. We kind of created a motion together that was taken to the TUC, and that was about campaigning for creative workers' rights in the context of AI. So lobbying the government to ensure that we have our own personality rights, the right for artists to license our voices, our likenesses, all our kind of personal image. Basically, it was passed. So if you want to know more about it, you can check it out on the Equity website. You can take a look at campaigns and policy. But the TUC is now behind the motion that was brought by Equity and the Musicians Union. So it's not just us fighting as a union on our own for creative workers. Got the power of the TUC behind us as well. What else has happened? We have got, I would suggest going to the Equity Audio Instagram or Twitter or whatever social media, Blue Sky, whatever you're following. Instagram, I like Instagram because I've reached that point in my life where I like the big images. Easier to read. I put my glasses on, I can read it. In the last week, we had Marcus Hutton, who is a member of the Equity Audio Committee, previously chair of the committee. He was interviewed in The Telegraph, along with Laurence Bouvard, who's also on the Screen and New Media Committee for Equity. And there was an article, surprise, surprise, about AI and the impact that we're anticipating and indeed already seeing in the creative industries. So if you subscribe to The Telegraph, do please go and look it up. If you don't, if you go to the Equity Audio Instagram or other social media sites, we've taken some of our excellent social media team, Alan and Rebecca, have taken some quotes from the article and they put some information about it. And I think, look, Marcus and Laurence are as you'd expect them to be, given what they do for a living, incredibly articulate. And they are also, both of them, incredibly well informed. So not just, I say ordinary members. That sounds bad, doesn't it? Most of us don't spend our time researching and reading deep legislation-based research and law books as our bedtime reading. But Marcus does, and Laurence, I think, does as well. So they are incredibly well-versed in all the arguments and counter-arguments. So it's worth taking a look. And it's also worth bearing in mind that these are people who we've elected to represent us. So they're doing their best. They're out there. They are talking to the press. They're talking to other media outlets. And also, there's huge amounts of information. So if you go there, for example, one of the problems we have, including, looking at the Gay Anne's case, it was the fact that, this was a job that she'd done, I think, 2020, so 5 years ago. There are a lot of contracts that I think members may have signed previously to AI becoming a big deal. And there'll be lots of those kind of all media or all platforms or in perpetuity. And we are already seeing that those kinds of clauses in contracts are suddenly reappearing. Like, you signed this 10 years ago and it says, we can do whatever we want. It's like, but at the time, that is not what we would consider to be informed consent, because you can't consent to something that doesn't exist. It didn't exist at the time.
Sure, agreed.
So those are the kinds of things to bear in mind. But also, if you follow these kinds of discussions on social media that are being promoted and posted and reposted by Equity and Equity Audio, you'll find snippets of information that are actually really useful in your day-to-day work. And on the notice of committee, we have a new committee because, again, I think the last time that I spoke to you, it was prior to the elections, I think, or nominations. Nominations had closed, but the elections hadn't happened. So we have a new committee. I'm still on it, which is why I'm still here.
Hooray!
Hooray! So we have a really good committee. I say that every time. We have a mixture of old faces. I'm an old face. Old faces and new faces, and a real mixture of experience. The first time I was elected to the committee was some years ago, and there were a lot of audiobook readers and not a lot of anything else. And they were all, incredibly experienced members and audiobook readers. But now, over the years, we seem to have morphed. We've got all voice actors and voiceovers, but they're really span the range. So, we've got game voices and audiobook voices and commercials and corporates, you name it. It's really good. And also people who have spanned theatre and TV and film. So, there's me, there's Marcus still, there's Leonore Lemay, who was on the committee previously. She's now our chair, and a very able chair she will be as well. And the vice chair is a new member, Michael Gibson, not a new member of the union, but a new member of the committee, Michael Gibson. And I'm looking forward. I think he's, again, very experienced in the industry. And if you take a look on the Equity website, if you go to the Audio Hub, you'll find the committee and all our smiling faces. Alan and Rebecca, who are usually in charge of our social media and do an excellent job. Milo Toomey, who I think has got a long and distinguished career in not only voice work, but also in theatre. I think he was an award winner for, I think it was Milo that was for the original West End Hamilton. He was the King George. So again, big award winner. Holyhead, who has again long distinguished career in TV, film as well as voice. I remember watching Holyhead back in the day in Soldier Soldier, Waking the Dead. Chloe Massey. Anyway, so take a look. But the important thing is take a look at who we are, what we do, and you know who to get in touch with. If you have any issues at all, that's what we're here for. So we're here for you to be able to say, I've got a problem, I've got a question. And so we're your representatives, within the union and indeed beyond. So what are we doing? We are doing lots of things. We've got lots of stuff in the works. We are planning, having just not that long since published the audiobook guide, and that was really well received because we had a general audio information guide which has bits, paragraphs on all the different areas of audio work, but we decided to start specialising, producing booklets that were area specific, because there are lots of people who span the whole gamut of voice work and there are others who specialise. And also you might be in one area or one or two areas and thinking, actually, I want to know how do I approach, if I want to start doing audiobook work, how do I approach that? So the audiobook guide is already out there. It's already on the Audio Hub, on the Equity website. Again, you can find information about it on the Instagram and the other social media accounts. But we are planning some other guides, and recommended rates guides will be included within those, because it's something that the union was quite shy about in years gone past, which was they were very concerned that if they dared to talk about rates, that they would bring down upon themselves the wrath of the Competitions and Markets Authority. But legal advice has actually said we are able to give a certain range of recommended rate advice
that is
now.
interesting.
That's what changed, because we were very shy of doing anything for years.
Yeah.
Terrified, and partly on the basis that there had been a number of legal cases, really aggressive legal cases by the CMA, including one with some modelling unions, and they'd been talking about rates amongst themselves, not setting rates, but talking about, well, we charge this and we charge that, and they were charged. One agency was fined nearly £500,000.
Wow.
So, the union was like, well, if we get fined £500,000, well, that's members' subscriptions. We can't risk it.
Yeah.
So they haven't become risk averse with our subscriptions, but they have, I think, had some somewhat different legal advice over the years, and there have been some other cases that have perhaps made them a little less concerned, not concerned, but a little less anxious. Yeah. So there is advice, and it is there, and there is more coming. So we're looking at different areas. So we're planning on putting out some guides on specific areas. We haven't decided what's coming first of the next guides, but we're looking at animations, games, corporates, you name it. We're planning on putting those out.
It's going to be really useful for people. Really useful.
It is. So we're almost at the end, really, of the equity updates from my point of view. But I would say I discovered this week by looking, because there was an upgrade to the website a while ago, and I went to my own personal details on the website once I'd logged in to my own account, and it didn't have me listed as an audio member. It said, what area are you a specialist in? And I think it had been updated, but I had to update it. So you might want to, if you remember, just go to your own profile on your own account, and you've got the opportunity there to update it. Because, sometimes people say, well, we say, well, we sent out this information about audio in an audio-specific email or newsletter to all our audio members. Oh, I haven't got it. And that may well be that it's been updated, or maybe that you've never put in that you're an audio specialist. So if you put that in, then hopefully that means you'll be added to the list for emails. And you can also do that at the Audio Info Hub. You can go and I'm waving my fingers, but it doesn't matter. It's a podcast. And I'm pointing like you can see it. You can click on a link there to be added to the audio mailing list if you're not already. And as we are a new committee, and we are still in the process of making sure that we've got our own priorities in order. If there is anything specific that you want us to be focusing on or looking into, now's a really good time to get in touch and tell us. Not that we won't follow it up in 6 months' time if you suddenly get an idea or there's a problem then, but things that you would like us to prioritise, now is a good time to let us know. So just get in touch. You can tell us. You can contact any of us individually, or you can get in touch via the usual social media channels.
Brilliant.
Fab.
Ta-da!
Thank you
Well, thank
so
you very
much.
much. Yes.
Always a pleasure. Oh, and I forgot one thing, which is that we looked at, Naval put out this really good sort of social media post about being alert to scams, to voiceover scams. And we said, well, we need one of those. So we, with reference to them and credit to them, we've actually put out one of our own. So again, if you go to the Instagram, you will see on our Instagram page, bless him, Alan put together a really good poster with some top audio scams, never pay for auditions, things to look out for, lack of clarity in posts and things. Anyway, but I said I'd finished, so I'm going
Oh, no, it's a good one. It's a good one to
not
include.
going to talk for ages about that.
It's a good one to include.
Fab.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Pleasure.
You've been listening to the VoiceOver Social podcast, hosted by Rob B and Helen B from BEE.
Sponsored by BEE.
VoiceOver Social.
Thank you to our guest,
Emily Jardine at emilyjardinevoiceovers.co.uk.
Socials coming up are Brighton on the 22nd of October, Hearts, Beds and Books in Leighton Buzzard on the 29th of October, the Pint and Rabbit online social on the 21st of November, Manchester social on the 13th of December, Paris online social on the 19th of December, and Saturday the 7th of February 2026 is the Great Big Voiceover Social.
All audio production by Rob B.
Please like, subscribe and leave a review to help more voiceover people find us.
And if you want to email us, it's listen@thevoSocial.com.
See you next month. The VoiceOver Social.